Okay, picture this. What if you woke up one morning with a second chance to save the very family you destroyed? Today, we are diving deep into this incredibly gripping explainer of the manhwa Reborn to Redeem. We're following Lee. Now, Lee is a despised, absolute rock-bottom gambler who suddenly wakes up in the 1980s, and he's got this one impossible chance to undo the horrific fire that claimed his family. It is a breathtaking story all about survival, intellect, and just sheer unbreakable willpower.
So, we're tracking a truly epic rags-to-riches redemption arc here. We get to watch Lee use his future knowledge to completely outsmart his ruthless rivals and build this massive empire, literally from the ashes of his past mistakes. And he's doing it all for one reason: to save his wife Lin Wan and his daughter Dudu from a tragic, fiery fate. If you're into seeing a character level up from absolute zero to an unstoppable force, you are absolutely going to love this cinematic journey. Now, the psychological shift right at the very beginning, it's insane. The past Lee was, frankly, an abusive gambler. His reckless actions literally caused his family to be burned alive, trapped in their own home. It's brutal. But when Reborn Lee wakes up in his moldy, dilapidated hut and sees his terrified wife, he doesn't just feel guilty, he makes a vow to completely rewrite their tragedy. He instantly transforms from this total deadbeat into a hyper-focused, driven protector.
But, rebirth doesn't mean his problems just magically vanish. Right out of the gate, there's this terrifying threat staring him right in the face: a 5,000 rupee gambling debt. And he owes it to a ruthless local thug named Wang Bio. To put that into perspective, 5,000 rupees back in the 1980s, that was basically a king's ransom, an absolute fortune. And the clock is mercilessly ticking. Lee has exactly 3 days to pay it off, or Wang Bio is going to take his wife and destroy what little they have left.
So, to save his family, Lee doesn't just, go get a normal job. He undertakes this grueling life-or-death survival quest. Because he has future memories, he knows that wild herbs sell for a massive premium. So he hikes for 4 agonizing hours through these dense, thorny mountain paths in the bitter cold. By morning, the guy is literally free climbing down a sheer cliff on a fragile vine. He's pushing through bloody hands and dizzying drops, all to harvest this legendary 50-year-old wild lingji mushroom. Literally, one single slip means death.
But wow, the insane gamble actually pays off. He survives that treacherous drop, makes it all the way to the medicine shop in the city, and walks out with 4,000 rupees. This is his very first income after his rebirth. It's the ultimate seed money he desperately needs to change his destiny. He even brings home hot meat buns and warm winter clothes for his family. It's a small gesture, sure, but it is the very first tiny step in earning back their shattered trust.
Okay. So how does he handle the first boss of our story? Well, when the thug Wang Biao arrives to collect, Lee actually pays the debt and the interest to drop the immediate physical threat. But then, he completely flips the script. Tapping into that future knowledge, Lee pulls out a detailed notebook filled with airtight evidence of Wang Biao's underground casino cheating. He orchestrates this flawless police trap, sending the thug straight to jail and neutralizing the threat forever. Game over for Wang Biao.
Even with that immediate danger gone, the stakes remain incredibly personal. Out of nowhere, in the dead of night, his young daughter Dudu spikes a severe 40-degree fever. With absolutely zero transport available in their remote area, Lin physically destroys himself. He runs 10 miles in pitch darkness over rough, rocky mountain paths, carrying his sick daughter to a clinic. His feet are blistered, his lungs are burning, but that absolute dedication, it marks the very first crack in his wife's justified hatred when she finally whispers to him, "Thank you."
Now it's time to truly level up his wealth, right? He needs to provide for them long-term. So, partnering up with his loyal buddy Zhao Qiang, Linny exploits this massive 1980s market gap. Back then, city folks were desperate for high-quality, natural village ingredients. So Linny becomes the ultimate middleman. He buys local produce, like free-range chicken and wild mushrooms, at a premium to win the villagers' trust, and then he flips it to city restaurants. The hustle is just unreal. In just one single night, they clear 300 rupees in pure profit.
But of course, every hero eventually faces a mid-level boss. Enter the local transport kingpin, Sun Da Wang. This guy wants to maintain his absolute monopoly, and he strikes hard and dirty. He actually destroys these carts mid-route. This causes a massive, devastating 500 yuan loss in trampled chickens and ruined mushrooms. And in this era, that kind of financial devastation is a fatal blow. It was specifically meant to intimidate Lee completely out of the market.
But Sun Da Wang didn't realize Lee is out here playing 4D chess.
Instead of fighting muscle with muscle, he executes this absolute masterclass of a counterattack. First off, he absorbs the massive financial hit entirely out of his own pocket to fully compensate the villagers. That secures their unbreakable loyalty. Then, he organizes a union of small merchants and maps out a brand new route that completely bypasses Sun Dawang's territory. And the finishing blow? Using his future knowledge of a desperate manager, he secures a massive long-term contract with the city food factory. He cleanly and totally cuts off his rival's entire supply chain. With that massive factory contract locked down, Lai's wealth absolutely skyrockets. He drops 8,000 rupees on this beautiful, spacious two-story courtyard house right in the city. And this is a huge, monumental turning point in the story. Remember that damp, moldy, incredibly dangerous hut where his family originally died in the fire? Well, he is finally moving them out of that absolute nightmare and into a literal fortress of safety. You can practically feel the relief.
And this leads us to one of the most beautifully emotional scenes in the entire narrative, set right at the Ancestry Hall. Lee gathers the whole village and publicly apologizes for all the chaos of his past sins. He gets down on one knee, gives Lin Wan these silver bracelets he bought with his very first hard-earned money, and he looks her dead in the eye and says, "That old person is dead now, forever." It is just a raw, incredibly powerful moment that truly seals his redemption as a husband.
Now, Lin knows that the real generational wealth in the 1980s is in fashion, so the power couple makes a major pivot. With Lin Wan stepping up to handle the finances and management, they launch this massive 200-square-meter clothing factory. And using his knowledge of future fashion trends, which, let's be honest, is basically a massive cheat code in the 80s, Lin creates these stunning, futuristic designs that instantly clear 5,000 rupees in profit right out of the gate. Naturally, though, our mid-boss Sun Dawang returns. This time, he tries to steal Lee's designs to sell cheap knockoffs, but Lee is ready for him, and he pulls off a move straight out of a heist movie. He pivots to a high-end registered trademark called Wandu. He locks all the real designs in a secure vault and intentionally lets bribed traders steal heavily flawed fakes. When Sun Dawang mass-produces these fakes, they literally fall apart at the seams. The massive wave of customer returns triggers a police raid, leading to Dawang's absolute ruin and arrest. With the competition completely crushed and their reputation absolutely glowing, the Wandu fashion empire scales up fast. They expand to over 100 workers, pulling in an astonishing 100,000 rupees in pure monthly profit. I mean, think about that scale for the 1980s. Lai has actually done it. He went from a despised, indebted gambler at rock bottom to building an impenetrable financial fortress around his family. They are basically untouchable at this point. But what makes this explainer so gripping is this tragic, gut-wrenching cliffhanger. Right as the Wandu empire hits its absolute peak, Lee suddenly collapses in his office. He wakes up in the sterile white of a hospital room to some truly devastating news. The terminal uremia, that total kidney failure that plagued his past life, has returned. His time-travel cheat code didn't save his body. The doctor gives him 2 years maximum if he doesn't stop working immediately. Facing his own mortality, Lee's priorities instantly crystallize. When he learns his brilliant daughter Dudu couldn't get into a top school simply because it was full, he doesn't just try to bribe her way in. No, instead he writes a staggering 500,000 rupee check to build Hope Elementary School completely from the ground up. His goal? To ensure his daughter and thousands of other poor and migrant children have permanent, guaranteed access to top-tier education. Realizing that all this wealth is entirely meaningless if you can't take it with you, he and Lin Wan established the Wandu Charity Foundation, and over a 10-year span, their impact is just breathtaking. From an initial massive donation to support just 50 girls in remote mountains, they scale up to fundamentally transform the lives of 15,000 girls. They create this massive, living legacy, giving these girls the exact kind of education and freedom that Lin Wan was tragically denied in her own youth. So here we are at the emotional climax. Lin's body is failing fast, and the clock is almost run out. Lin Wan tearfully offers her own kidney, but Lin absolutely refuses to let her risk her life. He's fully prepared to die, knowing his family is finally safe. But miraculously, his immense good karma finally pays off. An anonymous organ donor from a tragic accident provides a perfect match at the very last second. He survives, officially retires, and actually gets to watch his daughter head off to Beijing University. Years later, Lee and Lin Wan return to that quiet village where everything started. Standing right at a serene stone monument, placed exactly where their burnt, moldy hut used to be, Linwan looks at her husband and delivers this powerful line: "You've turned my hell into a paradise." The horrific hell of his previous life has truly, finally been rewritten. By giving his family the entire world, Lee proves his soul is finally free.
Which leaves us with a truly provocative thought. It's a question I want you to ask yourself as we wrap up today. If you were given a second chance, would you have the courage to completely rewrite your fate? Because as Lee's incredible journey shows us, it's not just about having future knowledge. It's about the relentless courage to use it to protect, uplift, and save the people you love. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.